stakeholder map, and it's like across the column examples of each individual that fits into the stakeholder categories at real companies, where their budgets are coming from, what makes them say yes, what makes them say no, who's going to block the deal, what their price points of purchasing are, and have that for each type of stakeholder. It's amazing when you onboard a new person onto your team, what a shortcut it can be to get them up to speed on all of the dynamics. If you're actually like, this is the best knowledge we have on how each of these stakeholders think, and here are textbook examples of them within our existing pipeline or customer pipeline. It makes it easier for marketing. It makes it easier to make sure you get the talking points right. It makes so you out of the meetings with the right stakeholders and keep some people out of the room as thorough. And I think that operationally is, we're not always trained to think of the customers that way. And often it's like, if the developer cares about this and the site manager cares about this, and they're all working to bring companies. So if we can have a successful project deployment, actually have to fit every single one of these boxes for others. Say yes to moving this forward. But it's not, it's like it's calculus. It's not.
I love that idea. Maybe it could be like an open source project that we can all work on.
If anyone else, it is. If his nuance for each company, but the basic is spreadsheet for sure.
I love that hot tip, Ethan, what you were saying, Leslie, about spreading it across different business units, with that ultimately could be an initial budget, right? And spend aggregated across the company. Okay, we're going to change topics a little bit and talk about capital stack in market right now to get all this done. Obviously, a lot of this is very asset intensive. And wanted to start with you, Shelby, because I know you guys have been doing a lot of work thinking about this across the areas that you all invest in. Yeah, and if you could talk through, and for everyone here, just one example of working with the company specifically to help them either work through their capital staff or through monk evaluation as it relates to that capital staff, or to share.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you was at our event yesterday. We did an event on designing climate hardware for finance and built a model that's like all the layers of the capital stack, and at what points the company's trajectory you're able to start to see them. I think we're going to be publishing it soon, so I'll have it all laid out. But we've written a lot about this. We have a credit fund. I think the sort of takeaway is that there's a lot of lenders that people are starting to talk about. Private credit, obviously traditional real estate has a lot more experience in this, but for founders who are bringing in technology from the technology side, we've all been sold. It's like the true story. Venture is the only thing, or venture debt is the only thing. But actually, there's asset underwriting, there's contract underwriting. There's so much that can happen within the these projects of product finance. We also talked about off-balance sheet structures and what off-balance sheet structures can unlock. Once you have a repeatable, proven asset that has a financial. And it's a stakeholder problem where it's a different language that you're speaking to venture investors versus credit investors versus once you're setting up structures. So I think we've advised teams, there's also the entire government grant foundation world, which they really care about impact metrics and points on these technology. Dilution and is kind of the key, right? So it's like, if you can avoid dilution, let's have some of these proven points, especially in the market as it is now. It is a good choice to raise the least amount of venture as possible. And I think what our firm is trying to do is sort of align all the stakeholders, at least in this decarbonizing industry and built environment side of things, to really agree that we need all layers for these companies to be successful. And so I think we've done a lot of that in our portfolio over time. I think the one thing I'd love to point out about how our companies and our portfolio is navigating it is we set up a company called Pearl Street, PERL, and incubated that and spun it out. It's a company now, but they help teams build the actual P&L and just financing the way you structure your company so that it is a lendable company. And then I think the other thing we've unlocked is talking about negotiating terms with buyers and partners in distribution with your warranty providers, your insurance providers, to be favorable. They can actually help be a financing option and in some ways, or sort of add to the capital stock, as well as customers, right? So as you get customers for invested in growth the same way you are, there's a lot you can do it in terms of using those relationships the same way you use a credit deal. And so just trying to get creative and then what are all the ways we could look at cash flow as separate from technology R&D, which is where the equity investment needs to go. But cash flow for deployment and for projects, for inventory of your assets doesn't need to. But you have to structure your company from the beginning, almost, to be able to have the right amount of years of data to get those options. So I'll let everyone else give examples, but that's kind of the way we've been approaching it.
Yeah, and I love that. And what I love about everyone at this panel is that everyone is familiar with these smart asset types. And so the idea of like having a conversation with the founder and say, okay, let's talk about a source of use that's stable, but then let's get into the details. It's probably something that like very, very familiar with, but have seen a lot of bad actors and like force feeding equity, these equity to buy down on the first project.
I think we pride ourselves to be just really flexible, so we can invest at the earliest stage, direct equity to the business through our accelerator program, which we're now open for our 13th cohort on. And we can also do convertible loan notes if that's what the business needs. It's a bridge round. We can also do safes, ASAs, or we can invest all the way up to Series A and follow on. So I guess we just pride ourselves on understanding that every situation is different. What the company's going through is different. The factors that, the forces that they're facing are different. We can kind of cut the deal around what the situation is. And whether it's debt, equity, convertible, or other. And I think one thing we do quite well, we have a community globally of other co-investors that join us around. We've got a lot of VC friends, corporate VC friends, family offices, LPs. So we can pick up the phone and help build a round of the portfolio company. So usually when you get a term sheet by labs and we're going to be in, the level of confidence that the round's going to be built just goes up because of, our community style investing.
And Jeff, how about is there a specific company that you would want to walk through that has not currently that capital stack challenge or revaluation to things? I was talking about it.
Not in our portfolio, thankfully, but I want to add a slight tangent to this, which is that venture has become quite popular over the past decade, but really the last 5 years. This idea of raising venture capital is something that's very sexy. Not every company is venture capital appropriate. And that's why people asked us, we have about $1 billion in Nevada, and yet less than 4 dozen companies. How do you deploy that into that 2 companies? We make high conviction investments where we're investing anywhere between $15 and $50 million in the companies. We can start very small. We can write $1 million check, we write a $500,000 check, but only when we have the conviction and understanding with our LP base that we're going to be able to accelerate the growth of this company such that we're going to be able to write a $5 and $15, $20 million check with a follow-on scope. Companies that, when you look at their business models, and this is something that we haven't mentioned so far, but I think it's implicit in everything that we do on this stage. The real estate industry has not been slow to adopt technology. This is a dinosaur industry. It is not true. They're very sophisticated players. It's because the groups have made money doing things exactly the way they've done now for decades. And so startups that are bringing a solution to market really have to understand the market they're serving and the sales cycles they're serving. And that goes back to the finance, because having flexibility in financing companies is great. Everyone on the stage has that type of flexibility. But at the same time, we have to be real with the founding teams and say, you may not be appropriate for the type of financing that you're looking to go after because you see other people that do it. And that doesn't mean the companies aren't good. Again, we follow hundreds of companies. Last year we looked at, this is one of my colleagues in the audience, 1,500 companies, and we invested in 3. So it doesn't mean the remaining 1,497 were great companies. A lot of them were great companies, but we helped them find alternative paths to getting financed versus venture capital. As Phil was saying, dilution is important, but remaining viable and ongoing concerts probably more important than maximizing for minimizing your dilution. So for us, it's really making sure that the companies that we're looking at are in a position to be able to take venture capital and grow to a venture state.
Maybe I'll just offer an alternative example. We've been equity investors, but some of our portfolio companies have been innovating from a fintech perspective. When I mentioned earlier that a subcontractor can be waiting up to 80 days before they get paid, that cash gap is a really big problem and prevents many subs from growing. And the problem with the credit market and the regional banks is that they apply a horizontal risk model to lend to these subcontractors, and they don't lend very effectively. And so a lot of these subs can't get access to affordable bank financing. And so there are opportunities to create vertical risk models to better understand the operational characteristics of these subcontractors, because many of them are kind of hidden prime, right? They could be really good borrowers. They should be able to access credit at favorable rates, but today they cannot. And so the opportunity to create these data-driven risk models and then partner up with the capital markets to unlock capital into the subcontractor market would be a very interesting fintech opportunity part of it.
And so with just a minute and a half left, we're going to end with a short, lightning round. And my first question is going to be, if you had a magic wand, what would kind of startup attacking a problem that you would see right now? I don't know if it's the fintech news, but mentioning if you have another.
I'll give another one. And I know a lot of companies are approaching it currently, so this is a pretty hot topic. And you asked what's some of the biggest pain points in construction today. I think probably if I had to pick one, it's labor shortage. At this moment, there's probably about 600,000 unfilled openings in skilled labor in construction today. We need automation bad, right? And now with generative AI and so the open source technology that's available, I think that knowledge management needs to be built for construction. How can someone who's new to a construction job site benefit from the knowledge and expertise of a senior PM or superintendent that's been at it for 25, 30 years? And that knowledge gap today is manifesting cost issues. Safety incidents have been rising across construction. And so I think AI knowledge management is a great opportunity. And I know many companies are going at it either within data silos or across integrated data layers that take into account different construction data odyssey.
Because a couple of seconds left for everyone.
Okay, I'll say my display is the big circular system. So being able to use and reuse materials on site in any setting.
I think I'd say climate's the most complex challenge we're facing, and the greater the complexity of the problem, the more intelligence that's needed. And the one technology that has an abundance of intelligence in AI is at the intersection of AI, climate, experience, and example.
I'll just say utilities and infrastructure.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. It'll be metal.